So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut and apply a large furniture size sheet of decoupage paper onto our furniture. I did previously a tutorial with like a little guy because I really wanted to focus on the method about how to not get wrinkles and stuff like that and not focus on other things, otherwise the video would be like 2 hours long and who wants to watch that? So I've broken it up. The previous video I focused on a nice smooth, did that lady use Botox finish, and this one I'm going to be focusing on how to cut it to fit the furniture, because when you're going over multiple drawers and stuff like that, it can be a little bit tricky. So what we'll need is, first off, you will need the paper you'll be using. You can decoupage any thickness of paper onto anything. I'm a fan of the thinner paper the better. Like the crappier it is, the more scared you're gonna rip it. Actually, the easier it is to work with, the easier it is to get wrinkles out. So I like to use tissue paper. And especially in this case with this piece, because these drawer fronts are perfectly flat. There's like a tiny little bevel. So if I was using a thicker poster, I wouldn't be able to bend my paper around to get every piece. I would have to stop and then fill in by hand, like retouching. Excuse me. So for this piece, I'm definitely using tissue paper. So this is a print I got on zazzle.com. They have almost they have a ridiculous, obscene amount of different designs and patterns in all different styles, and they're literally $3 each, which is awesome because it's a piece of paper. They're high resolution, so they're good quality, but it's paper, so they're $3 each. And if you review 4 items, you get $4 back. So it kind of works out to like a buy 4 get 1 free type of deal. And the site usually has like a 15% off which promotion thing. Like every month they have a new thing. It usually includes the tissue papers. So mine is from the SalvageScapes shop. That's my favorite because I like the fine art and stuff like that. They have a lot of that. So I'll pop that link down in the description so you guys can check it out. But there are many different shops, many different styles. If you're looking to decoupage, I highly recommend you check out the Zazzle. Okay, so this is my print. We're gonna need this. I'm gonna be cutting this to fit here, and then I'll be blending the rest of the dresser so it's all one cohesive deal. Yeah. Okay. So we need our paper. I like to use regular push pins to hold it in place while I'm working on it, so I don't have to worry about putting it down perfectly flat. It's already set up. I'm not fighting gravity. The less things you have to worry about, the better. It leaves a tiny hole, but either 1, you don't notice it because it's so small, or 2, you just fill it in with either a dot of paint that matches, or if you're trimming, you can always find like a bit of one of your scraps and plug it on there. So I have that. I have a hammer because sometimes the wood on furniture is a little hard for the push pins to go through, so that always helps out. I like to use just a regular old razor blade to cut my stuff. An X-Acto knife works perfectly fine. Just sometimes you cut it and it's still wet, and then the glue gets on the razor blade and it's really hard to clean. So I like to use a little thing that once it starts getting dull or too gunky, no matter how how careful it was, you can just use a new one and it's no big deal. So I'm using a razor blade. Then we need some sort of credit card, gift card thing we're going to use to smooth out our wrinkles. They also make like official plastic squeegees for it, but I don't know, my mother-in-law likes to give me gift cards for Hanukkah and Christmas and birthdays and everything. So instead of throwing them out, I stash them, and I use them for my decoupage. Then I like to use Mod Podge, sorry. I'm always going to mix that up in my head because I've been saying it for years the wrong way up here, even though I know that's not how you say that. So don't make fun of me. It's just going to happen. Deal with it. I like this to use instead of like a top coat or something like that, because it's not very sticky. It's not very wet. It's like the perfect consistency for putting something on. And then you can even like slide it a little bit. It has a lot of, it's very forgiving. So it's easy to get those wrinkles out. It's easier to get your thing placed good, well, grammar, and all that. So I advocate using the Mod Podge. And then of course, when you go to seal your entire piece, you go over with your polyurethane or varnish top coat or what have you. But to get this guy to stick to here, definitely use the Mod Podge. That's what it was made for. Okay, and then if you had to measure to get here, obviously you would use a ruler. I'm doing it a little bit easier. I'm using the lines of the dresser, so I don't have to measure. I'm going to put it on, use the drawers to go as I go. Okay, so the first step you need to do is to paint where your paper is going to go white. Because when your paper gets wet, because it's so thin, it's going to get a little transparent. If what's under it is dark, it's going to muddy your paper. And if you're using the super thin tissue papers, you're not going to be able to see it at all. It's going to look really bad. So I usually do just one coat, because I usually do like some sort of fine art painting and stuff. So if I see like the little lines through it, that's fine. That just adds to the impasto of the piece and makes it look more like a painting. If you're doing more of like a clean and crisp piece, do 2 coats, get a nice clean white surface. So this whole thing is painted because I decided I was going to try my hand at hand painting, and I went, oh, I can paint clouds. That's the only thing I can do, for sure. So why don't I do like a mushroom cloud and be cute and make it black and white and put a Kurt Vonnegut quote on it, so it's like a nuclear testing commentary thing. Long story short, it's really hard to get a mushroom cloud to read as a cloud when it's black and white. You have nothing else. It keeps going back and forth between cloud and tree and mushroom. So I decided, oh, I'm not doing that. So that's why this whole thing is painted, and you can kind of see it peeking through. So ignore this horror show. You just have to paint where your paper is going to go and call it a day. Okay, so let's get started. So my prints, well, first you decide where it's going to go. The way my print is, I think it's going to look best from the bottom, and then I'll like blend the rest in. Honestly, with this guy, I could get away with any sort of placement. But my quote that I did at the bottom, I did by putting stick vinyl letters and painting over it. So you peel off and then you get like a stencil. So I'm a little bit afraid of, even though I sanded it flat, of me not sanding it as flat as I should. So I'm gonna put this guy at the bottom, just in case. But anyway, you decide where on your piece you want it to go, what makes the most sense. If you want something on the top, the middle, the side, just make sure it's properly sized. Because if my print, say I had like the girl with a pearl earring, I wanted to put it on this dresser, and she was like this big, like it would be super easy to blend out the background on that painting because it's black, but then your focal point would literally only be like this, and it's going to look weird no matter how skilled you are at blending. So just make sure you have a properly sized print. That's like the #1 trick to getting a decoupage piece to look good and not like you put a sticker on it. Okay, so let's start. So swoop over here, get my tacks. So if I was not using this side as a guide, I would measure. I would find the center of my piece, put a little tick mark, measure my paper, find the center, put a little tick mark. I would line them up and then put a pin in it, and then measure from the top down and the top down to make sure that my piece is level and it's not doing anything wonky. I'm going to just be using this as a guide so I don't have to measure with this one. I'm terrible at measuring, so whenever I can do something and not measure, I'm going to do it. So just gonna hold it up, and I'm putting this corner at this bottom so I can use the side as a guide, making sure exactly where I want to go, a little down, making sure I'm following it. And yeah, it's gonna do that. Don't worry about it. Just gonna hammer that in. Pop over to this side. Make sure my corner is squared up, so I know it's perfectly flat. Smooth it out. Make sure you're not like bunched, so it's done properly. I'm gonna put a pin in there. Casters make this real fun. And I'm gonna make sure these guys are really well in there. Later on when we do it, we're gonna be putting them in, taking them out, whatever. This is gonna stay like this until we are absolutely done. So I wanna make sure these guys are going 0 places. So these are definitely gonna happen. Okay, so we are hammered in place. This, I only want it to go to the drawers, because this is like a reeded, fluted thing. You can decoupage over that with tissue paper, but it's hard and annoying. And if we're blending this totally out, why give yourself the headache? And also, even if we weren't, like, the drawers are a logical stop point for your paper, so there's no point. So I'm just gonna cut off this extra flippity floppy business. So I'm just gonna hold this flat to the drawer. I'm just gonna go down with my razor blade. It's really helpful when there's a crack, because then you just follow the crack. That's not always the case. So, and also whenever you're trimming, if you're having a little bit of trouble, it's always best to cut larger than you think you're gonna need, because you could always fix that. Okay, so this side is trimmed up. I'm gonna save this because this print, if later, if we have a tear, if I need to fill a hole, if some of the ink comes off when we're scraping it flat, we can use this to patch it, and it's a lot easier than hand printing. So always save your best. So I'm gonna put that to the side in case we have any problems. Okay, so we're gonna work up in sections. So drawer, the dividing bit, drawer, the dividing bit, drawer. So first, we're gonna cut the bottom drawer out. So I want to make sure this is, so we're going to pin it to the drawer essentially. And always do like 2 sides, like don't just do it along on the bottom, because we want this top to be able to get like as flush as possible, but we don't want the bottom to be like traveling. So I'm just gonna pop anything you do on top, 1 on the bottom, whatever. Just as long as you have pins on the top and the bottom, we're good. Put that in there. Okay. So now the bottom, the paper is secure. Actually, this is a little bowed. I gotta fix that. Oops. Flying sharp objects, yay. Okay. Yeah, that one a little wonks. So yeah, so also when you're smoothing out, you just want to be careful, because if you pull it too hard, you're gonna rip it because it's tissue paper. So, okay, where'd you go? So our paper is now secured to our drawer. We have to cut it off so we can put it down. It's always easier to cut it off and work in sections than to cover this whole thing and then put it down, and then cut it, because you're gonna have all these, it's not gonna be a flat surface, and good luck getting those wrinkles out. So we wanna make our lives easier. So I'm just gonna, I can see right here the little, the slot where the drawer is, so I'm gonna try and get my razor blade right in there. And then my razor blade is resting on the bottom, on the top of the drawer. So this way I'm gonna get perfectly straight. As opposed to letting it float in the middle and maybe go, it's still not gonna be perfectly straight, but this way you get a better thing. So I'm just gonna cut, always go slowly. Like this is a fresh razor blade, so I'm having 0 issues. But once you use it a couple of times, it starts getting dull, you get stuff on it, it might start ripping, tearing, pulling, whatever. We want to be able to stop any of those problems before they get really bad, so when they're tiny. So as soon as we feel it doing something we don't want it to do, we can stop and be like, nope, and fix it before it becomes a huge problem. Okay, so we are free. So I have to get this out. There's a dust catcher on the bottom. So I'm gonna take this one off just so I can get to the drawer hole. I'll pull that out. All right, so I like to take my drawers out and work like this. Because this way I'm not fighting gravity. I can see everything. I can see that it's flat. I can see that it's good. We're straight. Nothing weird is happening. We're good. So I like to take them out. Obviously when we do the little breaks, we can't do that, but you know, say Libby. I mean, you could lie your dresser down and do it, but it's such a tiny piece, it's just easier. Okay, so when you have a piece to decoupage, oh, I got a little bunch. Let me just fix it. I can see it needs a little fixing, so we're gonna fix it. There we go. It's easier to go to lay something down the long way if it's long than to do it this way, because if you're doing it the long way, you can smooth it out as you go. There's less things on the other side of your hands that are gonna wrinkle and get weird. So I always go this way. And when it's a long, large piece like this, I'm gonna do it in 2 sections, because when you got a long piece, it's easier for it to start going off track, and that's never fun, because then you get to the end and you have this much of nothing and it's just bad. So for the middle, I'm gonna pin 2 down the middle. I'm always doing 2, because if it were just 1, it might rotate. This way it can't go anywhere. And peel it back. So I'm going to do this side, put it down, and then I'm going to do this side, put it down. And that's what we're going to do for this. So use my Mod Podge. And the amount that you put down really depends on the thickness of your paper. So if you have the thinnest decoupage paper, be a little stingy with it. You don't want to over soak the paper, it might rip. This is a medium thickness. I think it's like 18 pound or something like that. So I can be a little bit more generous. If you're using like a poster or something like that, glob it on. Glob it on, and then we're going to squeegee out the extra. So you want to make sure, though, you have enough to get the stick. So this is a medium. So I would say a normal amount of Mod Podge. So I'm just going to start brushing it on. And I go back and forth with it. Try and get it on. Try not to have like puddles, if that makes sense. We want it to be an even thickness. Make sure you get all the way up to the edge. That. And the Mod Podge is like, it's tinted white. So if you're doing dark, you'd be able to see exactly where you put it. We painted this white though because of our decoupage print, so we cannot see anything. So we're gonna have to go, you can do this to see the shiny, or you can go by feel. So after I got all my stuff down, I always like to brush one way and then brush the other way, and that does 2 things. One, it lets me feel exactly how much I have. Like if my brush goes smooth across, we're good. If it like catches in any place, that place needs more Mod Podge. Also, it gives it a chance to get a little less wet, not dried, get a little tacky, and that always helps us. Okay, so we have our stuff down. So hold it up, put your finger, and we're gonna seal down the edge from where we are, and then we're gonna take our hand and just put it and smooth with our fingers at first. It's gonna wrinkle, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. That's what decoupage does. We're gonna fix that with our credit card. So we're gonna go in the direction that the wrinkles are going. If the wrinkles are going like this, we're gonna push them out like this first. If they're like this, we're gonna go this first. My wrinkles are vertical, so I'm gonna go vertically. And I'm pressing a little bit because this is a thicker tissue paper. If it was the thin one, I would literally just use the weight of the credit card or gift card or what have you, because you might tear it. But the thicker one, you get a little more oomph out of it. And you do have to use something like that after you put it down, because your fingers aren't good enough. They're not a flat, hard surface. You're not going to get an even thing. And then you go back and you see any big ones, and you can just rub it out with your finger, because your finger is soft, so you can get in there and do it without terrible things maybe happening. Just be careful. Same thing with the cutting. You always go slow, because if something starts going wrong, you can stop it before it turns into like a terrible thing. And it's more easily fixed. And at this point, it's still gonna look a little wrinkly. That's fine. We're gonna put another layer on top, and then as that layer cures, it's gonna pull things even flatter. So if it still looks wrinkly, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It will get better. That's pretty much the thing with decoupage. Don't worry about it. It will get better. Don't freak out. We're gonna fix it. And it likes to mess with you and think it's gone terribly wrong. Okay. So now this is firmly down. I can take off my centering nibs. And fold this back, and I'm gonna pull it just a smidge, just so gentle. I don't want to rip it. I just want to make sure that I get the Mod Podge right up to the edge. Like, I don't want a massive like bubble coming down the middle or anything like that. So just go, and the amount that you need really, it takes practice, really. Just do it. So you have to suck it up and you gotta do it. A good way to get a good feel for how much you need is to start by like lining drawer bottoms with wallpaper even. I like to use cool old book pages on books that are just like falling apart or something. Every type of paper is different, but it helps you get a good feel. So, okay, so I'm gonna brush this way first. I'm paying attention to how my brush is pulling. Good. And this way feels good. It's not catching. I'm gonna double check with the reflection shiny. I think I need a little more at the edge just because this is thicker paper. Okay. Just double check. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so we're gonna do the second part. Same thing. We're gonna full press with our finger to get it started, and then we're gonna just go whoop, like that, and it's gonna bubble up and start acting like a jerk, and that is fine. My wrinkles again are going down, so I'm gonna start by pressing them out this way. And again, I'm giving a little bit of pressure because it's a thicker paper. If it were thinner, I wouldn't be pressing as hard. Always start off the minimum amount and then like get more ballsy with it. That's generally how I do, especially if I've never used that type of paper before. Okay, so I'm just going over with my finger now, finishing touches. So I haven't folded it over the edge yet. I'm going to do that. I guess I could do that now. I was gonna wait until after, but you know what? Why? There's actually no reason why. Okay, so I didn't go all the way to the edge. I just did the flat part. I probably should have said that before. My bad. Sorry. So I left that because I didn't want to deal with precisely folding it when I was dealing with getting this nice and wrinkle free. So I broke up my tasks. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it. You can wait until it's dry if you want, or you can do it now. Either or. We're not cutting, so it really does not matter one lick. Okay, so this brush still has a bunch of Mod Podge on it. I'm not going to redip it. I don't want to soak. So I'm just going to go on there. And then I'm going to work in sections because that makes life easier when you're focusing on small things. Same idea with this. Small is better. You can pay more attention to the little details. So I'm going to put my nail in the crease. If you don't have nails, you can use your credit card that you use to flatten everything out. That's cool. So I got that crease, and then I'm just going to go with my finger. And yeah, it's not perfect, but we can go back when we're doing the rest and we can do retouching. We can use our scraps and do little patches, so that's fine. So we're just focusing right now on getting as best as possible, and we can always fix a little later. Okay, so yeah, so like when I was cutting this one, it dipped down a little bit just because paper folds. It happens. So I'm gonna have to take some of that and put it here, or I can retouch it, paint it. Okay, we're going to pick it up. Make sure you get all the way to the edge of where that paper is, so you don't get a bubble and you get a nice good adhesion. And get your finger in the crack of that bubble. Get that down first. And if it's not sticking, then you need more. You can go back, get more Mod Podge. And then we're gonna fold. Yeah, getting a little bit more right up under here. Didn't get enough. And smooth it down with our fingers. You can go back over with the credit card, but it's such a small area, really. Such a small piece. Your fingers are totally sufficient. Just don't get in the bad habit of doing that with the whole area. Okay. So now we did one side, and we have this. You can fold it over and then like snip after. I'm just gonna give it a little cut right now, so I can fold it over. It's kind of like wrapping a present, right? So you got your angle. I'm gonna cut like that, like on the diagonal of the angle, so I can fold it over. So I find my corner, go in there. Okay, we're good. Now I can. And I'm going to cut off the little piece that's now dangling on the other side. There we go. And I can fold this over, no problem. No, it's not going to be fighting each other. I'm going to put a little more Mod Podge on the brush because I think I used up most of the excess that was on there from before. All right, I'm just going to get it in there. Same thing as the other one. Make sure you get it up sort of the paper is sealed, and then just put your finger, your nail or what have you, get that little bevel down, and then we're going to fold our paper over the edge. And if you still have excess, that's fine. We can cut it off later once this dries. I like to wait till it dries to cut off excess and stuff, because when it's wet, it's still delicate and it moves. If it's dry and stuck in place, you can easier, and it's less likely to like tear or get funny ideas and move on you. Okay, so we're going to do the bottom part. And this one kind of like half stuck because I got some Mod Podge on there. So that's fine. Okay. So we got just getting in that crack, folding our stuff down. A little more Mod Podge. And we're growing a little bit at a time. This is no reason to rush. You get faster as you go. Like I keep saying, go slow, because if things start going bad, you can stop. And you're like, of course I'm going slow. Like this is requires a lot of concentration and everything. Like, why do you think I'm going fast? Because once you get used to it, it's like, oh yeah, bing bang boom, I can do this no problem. And like the second you start getting cocky, decoupage will bite you. So once you start getting into the swing of it, it's just very important to remember, you gotta go slow, and just be present, pay attention to how things feel, to looking, so you can see. Okay, so we have our drawer. I'm gonna put it to the side. I don't want to put it back in because we just did this. It's glue, and I don't want it to get stuck. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our to this part, right? So we want to pin it down in place. It's the same thing as this drawer, except it's just a little strip, so like we don't have the folding. It's a lot easier. It's a little more nerve-wracking because you got this, you got to kind of like hold out of the way. But okay, but it's the same general idea, but I will show. Okay, so we pin in place. Always pin in place. It's real tempting to go, oh, it's just a little strip, I'm going to put the Mod Podge on and go like this. It's so hard to get like a nice finish doing that, because you put it down, and while your fingers are only so big and you're over here doing this, it's getting all weird over there. It's just do it this way. It's nicer. Okay. And I think I said before, like, you're not gonna get a perfectly straight line. That's just not really gonna happen. It's gonna go a little like woohoo and stuff. But don't worry, don't get stressed. Once we get it glued to the piece, glued to the drawer, 100% easily adjustable. So the important thing is getting it down. Yeah, so this one I went like, so I have to actually fix that because there's a guy there. That's annoying. So I'm gonna angle it a little bit just for this one, and then later up here when we're in just abstract color land, I can fix that. But there's a dude here, and if I fill in right here, half of his body is not going to be his body, so I actually have to do that. See, mistakes happen, but you can always fix it. It's not a big deal. So I'm removing our anchors up top. Well, not all of them, just two, so I could nail it down. And then we will fix that later. But this is good because it shows you how to fix an oopsies, right? So put him down like that. Okay. So that's good. All right. We'll put And see how it's like bugging out? That's fine. I'm going to fix that over there. This is just colors. If you didn't see this video, you would never know. You would have no idea. So, okay. Good. I'm going to fix this so it's not, I'm just going to let it do that. Even it out. Put this back. I'm gonna put one in the up top so it doesn't do that to me because that's obnoxious. And I'm gonna go in the hole that I already have because I don't want a lot of holes. A couple are fine, especially with this color. I'm probably not even gonna have to fill them in, but might as well, right? So I'm gonna put one in the middle. And why in the middle? Because we're gonna do the same thing we did with the drawer. Where I do one side and then I do the other side. Because if I try to do one, it's going to go wonky on me. So yeah, okay. So now we cut. Where to go? Shoot. Hold on. I've lost, there it is. Lost the razor blade. Found the razor blade. Okay. So the same thing as the drawer. I'm going to use the top of this drawer. You can see how it's like bubbling out a little bit as my guide. So my razor blade is going to be like, this is the drawer that's above the divider bit. Razor blade is going to go on top. I'm going to slightly press up so I can maintain as straight an edge as possible. The paper is still going to bubble and wiggle a little bit, so it's not going to be perfect, but that's fine. And we can deal with it later. I'm going to start at the corner. And always try and maintain the tension with the paper, because that helps it not bubble and get weird, and helps get as straight as possible. Yeah, so I'm in the crack, so it's not that hard. Speak of the devil, just popped out. Okay, there we go. And you can go along the top of the drawer or the bottom of the divider or whatever. Just pick one, stick with it, and try and minimize your thing, maintain tension. We're good. Okay, so, and always when you're taking things off, after you cut, go slow, because sometimes it skips, you miss a little part, and you just want to gently rip it off or recut it. And if you whip it, it's gonna be bad. Okay. So, okay, I'm gonna pin this in the original holes. Get this out of the way. So it worked out. Okay. So we have our bottom bit that's free of the top, and I'm going to do one side and then I'm going to do the other side. There's a lot of stuff on the bottom hanging off because I had to fix with that. Also, it's just something that happens. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to wait. We're going to put our stuff down. We're going to glue. We're going to wait for it to dry, and then we're going to go back with our razor blade and slice it off. Because if we did it while it was wet, like I said, it's not going to be it's not going to be a fun experience. Okay, so I'm going to take that off, and I have this. I'm going to go with my brush. Just put down the Mod Podge. Obviously, I can't really brush up and brush down, so I'm just going to brush back and forth a bunch of times. Okay, go. Make sure it's good. And then, so it's not pressed yet. I'm making sure I'm lined up at this end first before I start, just because it's such a little skinny pane. All right, so I'm gonna start it off with my finger, and then I guess it's 2 fingers, and just smooth it out. Make sure you got all your things. Credit card. Oops. Usually with little ones like this, it really doesn't wrinkle or bubble. And then I missed a little bit at the edge, so I'm gonna pop some more in there. And we're good. And then we have this extra. I'm gonna leave it and cut it off, just because these drawers fit in their holes so snugly, so perfect fit. If there's more wiggle room, you could totally just glue this, fold it up, and glue it under. But I would be nervous about that with this dresser, so I'm not gonna do that. But that's always an option too. And like when you do have like a gap between your drawers and the carcass in that way, it actually helps to fold it under, because it helps to minimize like the line of where your drawers are. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same exact thing on this side. I'm gonna take this out too, so I can get right up there. Other side. Just go. And do it a couple of times. Make sure I have good coverage. Okay. And then I'm not pressing down yet. I'm going to line this up with where I want it to go. There's still space. And I'm going to start pressing down like this. And you know what? It's a little off. So I'm going to pick it up and do it again. And that's totally fine, because Mod Podge lets you do that. Okay. Alright. There we go. Oops. There we go. And it did go slightly wonky on the top, but that's no big deal. We can put a little patch in there later, and I'll be totally fine. I'm just gonna go over with our credit card and then fingers, make sure we're good. Okay. Whew. All right, so now this is perfectly straight where we want it, up top. This guy, this little dude, is gonna line up with his body. Good, but we have this situation happening right here. So, but this is all just, it's a very abstract mountain sky color thing. So if I move this down so it matches up with this, no one's gonna know. So that's how I'm gonna fix that problem, that mistake I made. So I'm gonna do that right now. Ooh. I put it in there real good. Okay. So I'm just gonna tip it. So I'm gonna line up like that. And I want it a little bit over actually, because I want to be able to fold our stuff nicely. Okay. Safe pin. And it helps if you use not clear safety pin, push pins, because then you don't lose them on the floor and find them later with your bare feet. Okay. So yeah, so I have a little overhang, which is good, because remember we have that bevel. I want to fold, and I want to minimize my retouching stuff as much as possible. So, and I want this to be moved down as much equal, so just hold on. I'm going to block it, but just want to, I gotta eyeball it. All right, that's, get away with a little bit crooked because we got hooves. Okay, that should be good. Okay, I'm gonna put that in. Okay, so what I did pretty much was I just moved it down. So we lost like 1/4 of an inch off the print, but it's 1/4 of an inch off of just nothing. So we're good. If it was, if like the whole thing was stuff, then it'd be a little trickier, but still totally feasible. Then we would have to go in and do some hand painting, color matching, fun things like that. So, okay. So there we go. That's pretty good. Just checking it out. All right. So let's cut this top drawer loose, just so you could see. And then I think you got the hang of it. I don't think you need to watch me do 2 more things again. So yeah. So just a recap on the drawer. So we're gonna pin the drawer so we can find it. You can see because it's tissue paper. So it's right there. We got corner. Yeah. Okay, make sure we're nice and flat, nice and tight, taut. So when we cut, we have a straighter edge. So we don't want, if it's real loose and things like that, that's when things get curved and weird. So okay, all right. So we're pins. We're gonna slice just like we did that, just like we did this. So I'm gonna find our edge. I'm going along the bottom of the drawer. I'm going a little faster than I should be going. I should slow down. So I'm gonna slow down. But yeah, I'm using the drawer as a guide so I get as straight as possible. Doesn't always happen like that, just went weird on me. So I'm gonna actually back up and recut it, and that's fine. I'm just gonna save that little piece and glue it back on. I want to keep our paper as taut as possible. And there we go. We're free. Let's pop this drawer out. Is it Dutch? Yes. Dutch dust catchers. Okay, hold on. And always when you take out, just be very careful. Like, see, I'm still, when it started going wonky, and I went, oh wait, that's wonky, because I was going slow when I saw it. And I didn't wind all the way up here. Just gonna take that off, and then this, when we do it, you just put it down. But yeah, okay. So we have our paper for our drawer. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the other drawer. Just do a little recap because we got so distracted with stuff. Okay. So I'm making sure that this is nice and flush, flat and tight. Okay. Good. We're good. Okay, so I'm going to take this out. Fold it back. And also, as you go on the same piece, it's going to get easier and easier. Because even if you're used to doing the Mod Podge, sometimes like you forget how much is like the perfect amount and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you get into a groove, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to put it on and make sure I have a good amount because it's the thicker tissue paper. I don't want a glob. I don't want pools. I want nice even coverage, but I don't want to be stingy. And then I'm going to smooth it out one way, smooth it out the other way. I'm feeling how smooth my brush goes across it. I want it to glide. I don't want it to catch. That means we have a good amount, even coverage. All right, do a little last second layer check because I got the window there so I can see the shiny. We're good to go. So hold it up, smooth down the edge first just to get get it started. And then with your hands, just whoop. There's a little crease there. I just want to make sure I had it out from like how the paper was like folded. Okay. Smooth out with hands. It's a wrinkly mess. Oh my God, we totally messed it up. What are we gonna do? Credit card. And then I'm going with the direction of the wrinkles from the edge, right off the edge. If you go the opposite way of the wrinkles, it gets them out a little bit, but if it's like a big one, you're just gonna fold the paper over onto itself and make your wrinkle permanent, and there's nothing you can do about it. So go with the wrinkles first, and then go the opposite way just to make sure you got a good stickage. There we go. If you got any egregious ones still up in there you think you can rub out with your finger, rub it out. Just be careful. When you're using the other, like the thinner tissue paper, honestly, it's so much easier to get a smoother finish. You just have to be gentler and just be a little more careful. Like I wouldn't be able to be doing this with the other tissue paper because it would rip on me because it gets wet and it gets very delicate. But I also wouldn't have to be doing this with the other tissue paper either, because once I run that credit card over it, everything's just gone. It's like magic. So I prefer the thinner. The thinner and the crappier the paper, the better. The important thing is your print is a good, high quality, high resolution image. That's the important thing. If it's stiff, if it's waxy, whatever, getting wrinkles out is going to be real hard. Folding it around bevels and like things like that, real hard. So tissue paper, tops, thinnest tissue paper, even better. Okay, so we got a good seal on there. We're going to take our pins off. Fold it back, give it a little tug, make sure we are at the absolute border of where we stuck it down, because we don't want to have a gap, bubbles, anything obnoxious like that. Putting down montage, and I always start at the far end and pull towards here because I don't want a giant like puddle there either up against the paper while we futz around the rest also, because if it's wet it's going to make it a little it's going to compromise the structural integrity of the paper, and that's no fun. Okay, so going, all right, maybe a little more over here, felt a little stiff. Okay, we're going to do this side now, and do the same thing, press to get it started. And then we're going to just go like that, paying special attention. I have a fold there from how the paper came, so I just have to be conscious of that. And I know it's going to try and pull a fast one. Okay. All right. Wrinkly mess. Go with our credit card. Also, these are kind of like going off on an angle, so I'm gonna kind of get them on an angle. When you do that, you don't have to only go left and right. You can do weird things. You can take care of one wrinkle that's doing a weird thing right there, and then go back and do the rest also. Okay. All right. And that one went down real well. Okay, so we're good here. I'm going to do the folding of the paper over here. So I have a bunch on here. I don't want to glob it especially because my drawers fit so well in the dresser. I don't want to build up a lot of extra stuff. So I'm just going to go make sure I get right up against that paper. Make sure there are no gaps. I'm going to work in sections. And I'm always start in the middle and work your way up. So just with my nail, I'm going to get that little crease first. Get that down, that's the most important part. And then we're going to fold our paper over there. Okay. And I'm going to pick up where I left off. To find it, I'm just going to lift gently. If I lift up a little bit of what I just glued, that's fine. Mod Podge lets you do that. Now we're just going to re-put it back down, essentially. So I'm going to do the crease first. That nice and good there. And then fold back over. And do the rest. It's a little spot right there. Get you down. Spot right here. Get that down. Alright, the rest of this. Fold the crease. And if you're putting it down and it keeps popping back up, your brush needs more. So redo it. Just don't like glop it on because we don't want that much. Okay, got to the edge. I'm going to pick it up a little bit because this corner isn't 100% there. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to snip our corners. This one actually ends here. I'm going to have to put a little bit of paper here to blend that in. This one's hanging off all willy-nilly. So okay, so on the diagonal from the corner of the paper to the corner of the dresser, and then slice off the extra. So when we put it down, it's going to go down. It's not going to bunch up or anything like that. Okay, pull it back. Make sure you get in that crack with the bevel. Okay, crack with the bevel, and fold. Roll over, smooth over, fold over. Okay, bottom. So we have that little, so fold it, and then we got that little, little tag piece. Slice that off so we can fold it without problems. And then I'm going to start in the middle because it's a big long one. The sides, you can kind of get away with it if they're little, but it's best to always start in the middle. Okay, so we put it down in the crease, fold it over the edge. Make sure you get a nice fold, smooth it with your fingers. If it goes further and you got a tight fit on your dresser, it's okay. We can always slice or sand it off later. So it fits. Okay. All right, other side. Lift it up. And it's very important that you get one, your Mod Podge in the crease, and two, your paper in that crease too. Otherwise, it's not going to be a clean fold. And also, you're going to have a bubble that could rip. So that's why it's very important to keep saying. So yeah, fold it in, get it an edge. Fold your thing over it. Okay. And that's pretty much all you gotta do. When these are all dry, or you can do it when it's wet too. You can put your top coat of Mod Podge on it, and then usually I do one more. You could go directly to your polyurethane top coat or whatever you use, but I found I get a much better fusion when I use the Mod Podge at least once on top of it, because you got like, and they kind of meld together and they give you a really, really good fusion. I tried it both ways and it really does come out better that way. And also you put your top coat of Mod Podge on, it you know how when you put top coats on, it always deepens colors and stuff like that. Then you know exactly what colors these are going to be when you do your blending on your dresser, when you do your touch-ups, all that stuff. So I like to do that. So, but it's pretty much you brush it on, it's the same as you brush on the bottom. So I'm not going to make you watch that. So I think that pretty much shows the handle of it. I'll just give you a close-up of, so you can see the bevel on the dresser and the fold. See, what I did was I ran my nail here first and then I folded over like that. Okay, because I realized you probably can't see that from where you were. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm not going to make you watch two more things or something you already just saw me do. But that's pretty much it. You pin in place, and then you work in sections, and you slice off and you glue in each section. And then if you start going wonky, that's fine. You can always correct, like you saw me do, which is good. We learned things. Okay. All right. So thank you for joining me. I hope I inspired you to try it out. If you do decide, feel free to tag me at Second Wind VTG on either Instagram or Facebook, because I would love to see. It's always so cool to see what people do with all the different designs and everything. So thanks for joining me. Please try it out and have fun. Bye.